There's a play that's opening at the Sheen Center this week, and it's done by pretty much a first-time playwright, Lia Romeo, and we are with her today. Lia, can you tell us your story on how this happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I am not actually a first-time playwright, but this is my first play that's been off Broadway. So this play is definitely like a leap for me career-wise, but I've been doing this for a long time. And I was in the Juilliard program a couple of years ago, and that's where I wrote the first draft of this play. And at the time, I was really struggling with a question in my personal life. I was married to someone who I cared deeply about, but also disagreed with politically. And I was trying to figure out what to do about that. And when I have questions that I don't know what to do about, I often try to write about them and I try to figure them out through that process of writing. And that's where a lot of my plays come from. So I was thinking, like, okay, I'm going to write about this and I'm going to figure out the answer to the question through this process of writing a play, which is absolutely not what happened. But I do think I got a good play out of it. And I think I realized through the process of writing the play and then sharing the play with audiences that it's a question that resonates with a lot of people. It's a question that a lot of us have right now. So it did help me to feel less alone in asking that question.
How did this play finally make it to off-Broadway?
So that's been
It's
a long story. Yeah, this is the second off-Broadway production. It had a nonprofit off-Broadway production last spring, and then this is the commercial transfer. And before that, the world premiere was at Dorset Theatre Festival. So let's see. I wrote the play. Like I said, I was at Juilliard. I was in a playwrights group with the Road Theater in LA. They had like a national playwrights group. So I was working on the play in that group and I was working on it in the Juilliard program. And then I got to work with Adrienne Campbell Hope, the director of this production, on a different play while I was at Juilliard. And we really loved working together. And she asked me, what else I had. And I sent her this play. And she happened to know that Dorset Theatre Festival was looking for a play to do with Tim Daly. And she had worked with Tim a lot. And so she sent the play to Tim, she sent it to Dorset, and they both ended up being interested in it. So then we did the first production up at Dorset with Tim Daly and Jane Atkinson, did it again with those actors in New York last spring, and then now we are working with Mark Moses and Melissa Gilbert.
this seems like a two-person play, kind of like same time next year, that multiple people will want to be in it. Who else would you like to see play these two roles?
I love that question. I don't have a great answer because whenever I'm working with particular actors, I'm so like in it with those actors. But I do think it's appealing to actors. That's often been the way that, people have gotten interested in it is because a particular actor is interested in it. And I do want to keep thinking about, who else could be in it. But right now I'm just very like in it with Melissa and Mark.
Oh, the reason I asked the question is because I can see this play continuing. This is a play that I do think is going to resonate with a lot of people. And if I'm not mistaken, Melissa and him, they both have like other schedules.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking the question, because I
Yeah.
can see it doing this.
Yeah, I hope so. I would love to see that happening. It's so interesting to work with different people on it, and just see like the different things they bring to it. And, from an artistic perspective, that's just fascinating. So
Now,
I
I saw the production in the
yeah,
spring. Uh,
yeah.
what's different? What do these two actors bring that's different? And have you seen something new in your play because of how they respond?
Yeah, that's a great question. I loved working with Tim and Jane on the play. They were amazing. And Melissa and Mark just have a different vibe and a different chemistry. And it feels like, Tim and Jane it feels like it's very important for actors to have chemistry to do this
Yeah,
type.
Tim and Jane definitely had chemistry. I interviewed them
Yeah,
on Live from the Hotel Edison,
yeah,
and the chemistry was off the roof. But then
totally.
again, so did Mark and
Yeah.
Melissa.
That's the thing.
So
They have chemistry too, and it's just a different chemistry. And so it feels like it brings a different energy to it in a way that is really interesting. I've also changed the script a little bit because I feel like we're in a different moment now. And, I haven't made huge changes, but it did feel like the play needed to respond a little bit to where we are because it's so topical.
Oh, so does it change during the bedroom scene?
Yeah, the second part of it, there's the end is a little bit different, and some of the conversations that happen along the way are a little bit different.
Oh, nice. I can't wait to see this difference.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean it's nothing huge, but I feel like it is important.
Now I happen to be somebody that thinks that both sides should be heard, both sides should be given a chance. I think part of the miscommunication that we have in this country is we don't look at where the other person lies, what in their past has changed that. Would you say that these differences could be um seen and love can conquer it all? Because I think love can conquer anything.
Yeah, I honestly don't know the answer. I don't think love can conquer anything. I think there are differences that are too big, and I think there are differences that are surmountable. And I think it's really like up to each individual person, whether a particular distance is one of those like deal breaker, draw a hard line differences, or whether it's something that they can, you know,
Navigate.
surmount. The thing that I think is important is that I do think it's important to continue having conversations, whether or not, we can love people who are different. I think it is important to talk to people who are different because that's the only way that we can make change happen. So
Well,
I,
I
I
did
think
love your play because it gave both sides a voice. And I think it's important to remember that both sides do have a voice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know. I think there are people who hold positions that are morally indefensible. I'm not a total moral relativist, and I think there are things that people are doing, and I think there are a lot of things that people in the government are doing right now that are just absolutely not okay. I think there are other things that, make sense to people for good reasons, and maybe I disagree with those reasons, and I think those reasons are wrong, but that they come on some level from a good place.
What other kinds of plays do you have in your wheelhouse?
I have a lot.
Hmm.
Let's see. The other play that I'm most excited about right now that I think is like most production ready but hasn't yet been produced is a play called The Agency. And it's about a company where clients of this company can hire actors to pretend to be their friends and loved ones. Like if they've had a falling out with someone or someone has died and that person's not in their life anymore, they can hire an actor to pretend to be that person and like have this whole sort of relationship for hire with them. So this is there are a few articles about this company in Japan that actually did this, and I read about it and I was sort of fascinated by it and came up with a fictionalized version of that. And I think it's very timely right now because our entire society is so capitalist and so on demand, and we can basically get whatever we want if we're willing to pay for it. And I'm interested in, how that interacts with the authentic relationships that we try to have with other people.
No, I think that's great. I mean, right now I've been reading a lot on the AI lovers that you can create, and
I'm
I'm like,
fascinated by that too.
yeah, I find that so insane. Like,
I do too, but it also seems to be working for people.
yeah.
And that speaks to something, I mean, I think whenever we love someone, there's this process where we're creating a version of that person in our minds, right? And so if you push that to an extreme, maybe the person isn't even behind it at all. Maybe it's a computer, or maybe it's someone who's pretending to be that person. I'm interested in how far you can take that.
Oh wow, you just put it like an idea into my mind. She Loves Me is based on a play. Oh, The Shop Around the Corner. And I could see having a complete and total relationship with somebody because you're sick and you can't get out of bed and you're on computer. And then you find out hey, they're not real.
Yeah, and that happens. I mean, that's the whole idea behind like catfishing is, people get into these whole relationships with people online and they've just completely invented their whole persona. So it's interesting.
Scary, very
Yeah,
scary.
it is.
It's like, oh, great, you get betrayed by a real person and now you get betrayed by a computer. Great.
Yeah, but I
Like,
mean, you can also live with someone
possibilities
for
exist.
years and years and be in a relationship with someone and not know who they really are. So I think there are endless depths to every person and endless ways that we deceive each other, whether we mean to or not.
Oh, no, I agree. I completely agree on that. Um, what would you like our audiences to know about you that I haven't asked?
That's a great question. I would love people to know that I am a breast cancer survivor. It's also a theme in the play. And I actually wrote the play before I went through it myself, but it's been interesting, coming back and revisiting the play, having gone through that experience. I went through treatment in between when it was done in Dorset and when it was done in New York. And so it was great actually to, be recovered from that and just jump right into rehearsals and have this like thing to focus on that was really fun. And it's a very personal play for me in a lot of ways, but that has made it even closer to my heart, I think, because of that experience.
Did it change any parts of the play that you had written because you had gone through that during this?
I thought it might. I went back and revisited it, and I felt like I actually pretty much got it right. The character in the play has a different and more serious form of breast cancer than I had. So, I have not like exactly lived the experience that the character has, but having lived, something somewhat adjacent to that experience, I guess. I felt like, okay, I didn't get this wrong here. I was able to imagine my way into that in a way that still feels truthful.
Hmm. So by the time this will be shown, this will have already happened. But if I'm not mistaken, isn't tonight the performance that you're doing? That's all the money's going for LA wildfires?
Yes, this is a benefit performance where all of the proceeds are going to LA to support people who've been affected by the LA wildfires. Which I'm so glad that we're doing that because all of us know people who have been impacted. I mean, you can't be in this industry and not know people who have been impacted. And it's such a awful thing. And I love that this play can, do something to help a tiny bit with that.
Well, I was born in Altadena. So
Oh, wow.
my entire childhood past has been burnt down,
Oh,
literally.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
I think the Pasadena Hospital still lives, and that's where I was born. So
Okay.
at least we have that.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm really glad that you guys are doing this. I wish I heard more shows doing this. I hope you set a trend.
I know, I hope so too. I'm a little surprised that more shows aren't, honestly, because I feel like, so many people know people who have been affected. And I think everyone's just still sort of figuring out how to respond, but I hope it does become more common.
Now, will you also do a one night performance or a one afternoon performance for breast cancer?
I don't know. I love that idea. We definitely have talked about and we partnered with various people for talkbacks last year, but we've definitely talked about like bringing in people to partner with for talkbacks around that issue. And we don't have all of that like lined up yet, but it's definitely a conversation that's happening. And I love the idea of some funding going to cancer research.
And tell us the date that your play is opening. I think it's Sunday.
It's actually next Thursday. It's
Oh,
February
Thursday.
6th is opening night. Tonight is our first preview. Last night was supposed to be our first preview, but a fire alarm went off in the theater and they could not figure out
Really?
how to shut it off. So that didn't end up happening. So this
Oh,
is our first preview.
but if you think about it, that's kind of serendipitous that the fire alarm goes off. So your first preview is
It's
a benefit preview
yeah,
for fire. I think that's
yeah.
genius.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe so, and hopefully it will bring us good luck for the rest of the run.
Well, I wish you guys great luck. I still have to book my performance for this, but I am looking forward to seeing this and seeing your play in its next incarnation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for talking with me about it.